Do you want to write young adult fiction, but you don't know where to begin? Are you a little nervous about tackling this category of writing? Well, let me give you a little help. Let me share some of the things that I have learned from the book, How to Write a Romance and Get It Published. This book has a section on teenage writing, or young adult writing, or young adult fiction, or young adult romance. It is entitled The Teenage Formula, and it is written by Audrey P. Johnson, and she is the author of several teen romances. This is her words and her take on the subject. Teenage romances are an important part of the fast-growing paperback romance market. Young love is luring teens into the bookstores in unprecedented numbers. 9 million teenage readers is a conservative estimate. Girls who were reading their mother's adult romance novels now have many for their age group. If you don't like teenagers, don't attempt to write for them. But if you are concerned with the universal problems they face today and can write with warmth and understanding, this field can be yours. When anyone asks me how to write a teenage romance, I tell them to think love, sweet, tender love, and carry it all through the book. The primary interest of a teenage girl is almost always a teenage boy. And if you intend to write a young adult romance, keep in mind that feelings are extremely intense through the teenage years. Underlying the romance should be some good, solid conflict, such as teen pressure, personality flaws, troubles with parents, school problems, overcoming shyness, finding one's identity, career aspirations, etc. The novel should be written from the viewpoint of the young heroine and can be in either the first person or the third person. You will be writing primarily for girls 9 to 14, and girls like to read about girls slightly older than themselves, so make your heroine from 15 to 17 years old. Usually, she is a junior or senior in high school. The boy should be about the same age or slightly older. Or, if you are writing a summer romance, he could be starting his first year of college in the fall. I would like to interject that whenever I begin to write a young adult romance, I always pull out this book, How to Write a Romance and Get It Published. And I always go to the section entitled The Teenage Formula, as well as Turning Teenage Fantasies into Fiction. This helps me to get back into the right frame of thinking when I write young adult romance, because it is so different from adult romances. It's sweeter, it's tamer, it's more emotional, and as the author has suggested, you usually write it in the first person. You can do third, but first person brings you closer to the reader. The author of this chapter, Audrey P. Johnson, goes on to say, the plot may contain one or two boys the girl is interested in, and she may be undecided which one to choose. One may be the boy next door, and the other an entirely different type who offers excitement. The setting is familiar, a small town or city in the United States. Sometimes she is infatuated with an inappropriate type, or she joins the wrong crowd at school. The story should deal with her day-to-day problems, her uncertainties and anxieties, her first romantic encounters, and how she handles them. Avoid teenage slang. In a few months, the words or phrases may be obsolete and will only date your book. The same goes with music, television, or movie personalities. They can also date your novel, and your young reader in several years from now may not have even heard of the current rock star. Characters in your teenage romance are schoolmates, family members, an understanding girlfriend, teachers, and of course, the boyfriend. How do teenage romances differ from adult romances? Violence and explicit sex are taboo. So is profanity. Avoid moralizing, but the book should carry a high moral tone. The romance should be light, with the emphasis not on physical expression of love, but on the anxieties and emotions shared by teenagers in their first romantic encounters. In writing for teens, avoid the subplots that often mark the adult romances. Sometimes I am given manuscripts to be read from a hopeful writer, aiming at the teen market, and the flaws are often the same. Instead of centering on the heroine and her problem, the writer branches off into subplots that threaten to take over most of the story. The storyline must center on the heroine and her problem all through the book. Scholastic Book Services was the first publisher to launch a line of young adult romances in 1980 entitled Wildfire Romance. But when I wrote Don't Look Back, I was unaware of the new trend in teen fiction. My novel was about Ellen, 16, who lives on an apple farm and struggles to bring the apples to harvest with the help of an elderly hired man when her father dies of a heart attack. Ellen was a strong character, and the story did have a love interest all through the book. Gabe, who comes along in a van, is hired by Ellen to work the farm and complicate her life. Scholastic editor Anne Wright was starting their first Wishing Star line with a more serious flavor than Wildfire, and added my book to their list. My second book, Sisters, also bought by Scholastics, tension between two sisters, added to the conflict. Ray is beautiful, but slightly handicapped, while Robin, who is rather plain, is outgoing and popular. Robin feels guilty because she has boyfriends and good times, while Ray is withdrawn and rather bitter. Then they both fall in love with the same boy, and their problems increase. As in the former book, romance played an important part, but sibling rivalry was strong too. In this specialized field, write with young girls' dreams in mind: popularity, a steady boyfriend, fantasies of a great career, a great figure, the leading role in the school play, a champion skier or tennis player. Remember when a blotchy skin or the wrong haircut was a complete disaster, or a look from a certain boy made your day? Does he like me a lot or a little? Is he going to ask me out? Writing for teenagers is a satisfying experience. It will keep you in touch with the youth of today and will keep you young. A happy ending is not always essential, but the story should have a satisfactory conclusion, and the reader should be left with the feeling the heroine has learned something of value from her experience. In writing young adult romances, I get to relive my past. I get to recreate my past. I get to live vicariously through all the characters in my book, from the popular girl to the homecoming queen, to the awkward, shy, inexperienced girl, to the nerdy girl. There are so many different characters that I can embody in my writing, male and female. And let me tell you, the plot twists can be amazing. So I truly, truly love writing young adult fiction.